Do you already have your investments with Fidelity? I'm David Cross with US Asset Management. Did you know that you can assign your investment management to my team and put my 35 years of experience to work for you? You simply assign us as your investment manager and you keep the same username and password. Professional management, and you get to work with someone who shares your values. Call US Asset Management today and put us to work for you.
Are delusional for a bunch of different reasons. I don't think that's an Israeli-specific phenomenon. We felt a little bit of that after 9/11, when people bought the lies about there were many lies about 9/11, but the net result was to convince Americans that they were under siege from global Islam, that there were a billion people trying to kill them. I felt this way myself. And many times I said on television, the problem is Islam, the problem is Muslims. Like, they all want to kill us. They're all crazy. They're all in this lunatic suicide cult created by Muhammad in the 7th century. And I believed that. I was hysterical. I believed that. Now, that's not true. Nothing about that is true. But I believed it. So it's a little harder for me to judge Israelis when they're like, every Arab, Christian or Muslim, it doesn't matter. Arabs are by definition committed to the extermination of Jews, and we must kill them before they kill us. Like, they believe that.
Iran's leadership. You used to call them, you did. Yeah. You used to call them religious theocratic lunatics. Do you still believe that language applies to the leadership today?
Well, look, it's not that I believe it, it's the fact of the matter. I mean, the Iranian system is led by clerics, radical clerics. That's what it's always been led by, and that's what it continues to be led by. That said, we also have to manage the geopolitics of the situation. And then there's if they've changed their mindset, or if they've changed their approach to their relations with the United States and their neighbors, then we're going to give this thing a chance to work. Maybe this changed. I'm not saying it has. I'm saying the president wants to explore whether that's the case. And if it has, we're going to find out. But we're not going to find out because of what they say. We're going to find out because of what they do. So it's been debilitating for Europe, but especially for Ukraine and for Russia increasingly. So if we are prepared to step forward and play a constructive role, if there's one for us to play, and bringing the parties together and bringing that war to an end. That's what the president's tried to do now for a year and a half. But there was no agreement in Alaska. There was a proposal made in Alaska, but it was never an agreement.
Last month, President Trump threatened to bomb Oman if they impose tolls on the strait. And just today, you mentioned that no two nations should be able to impose tolls on a natural strait. What are you satisfied? Is the current bilateral relationship with Oman now in a good place? And are you convinced they're not playing games with respect to that issue?
I mean, our relationship with Oman is fine. I mean, ultimately, there's not going to be any fees or tolls. There's not going to be any, and they've signed, you know, they were there in the meeting today, and they said it, that they're not in favor of a tolling system. So that's good. I'm glad to hear them say that.
I do have to ask, because
Pacifici della Global Summit Flottiglia da parte del ministro Ben-Gvir. Quelle immagini hanno superato una linea rossa, hanno scosso le nostre coscienze e la nostra opinione pubblica. Lo abbiamo detto subito, si è trattato di un comportamento contrario a ogni elementare tutela della dignità umana. Per questo, d'intesa con il Presidente del Consiglio, ho fatto convocare immediatamente alla Farnesina l'ambasciatore di Israele in Italia. Ho poi chiesto formalmente all'alta rappresentante Callas di portare in Consiglio Affari Esteri la proposta di sanzioni contro Ben-Gvir. È l'Italia, lo ripeto, ad avere posto in Europa il tema delle sanzioni a Ben-Gvir. Abbiamo agito in modo serio, lavorando per una risposta europea. Al Consiglio di lunedì purtroppo non è stata ancora raggiunta l'unanimità necessaria, ma voglio ribadire anche oggi in quest'Aula che continueremo ad insistere verso questo obiettivo. Stiamo avendo contatti con i paesi più restii che bloccano la decisione. A Lussemburgo ho sensibilizzato l'alta rappresentante Callas per studiare le migliori strategie. È in gioco la nostra dignità di europei, non di fronte a Israele, ma di fronte a un esponente politico che, anche con le parole ingiuriose e offensive che ha rivolto al nostro Paese e che rispediamo al mittente, si è dimostrato indegno di fare il ministro e di rappresentare il popolo israeliano. Tanti interlocutori in Israele, a partire dallo stesso presidente Herzog e dal ministro Saar, si sono dissociati pubblicamente in maniera ferma da Ben-Gvir.
Sto lavorando anche questa mattina sul piano casa. Capisco che sia meno immaginifico, non lo so, non posso spiegarlo, non lo so. L'importante è che non si rovinino le relazioni diplomatiche, commerciali fra Italia e Stati Uniti. Tutto qua. Quindi è chiaro che sono parole gratuite, inutili, sgradevoli. Stop, però non c'è una guerra fra Italia e Stati Uniti. Ci sono già troppe guerre e spero che gli Stati Uniti ci aiutino a porre fine ad alcune di queste guerre, visto che anche in Iran mi sembra che le cose non stiano andando. Non è utile, lo dico dal punto di vista della presidenza americana, perché l'Italia è un paese alleato, responsabile, sempre presente, generoso. Nessuno può mettere in discussione i buoni rapporti fra Italia e Stati Uniti. Sicuramente c'è un problema in questo momento. Ribadisco, chi attacca il nostro Presidente del Consiglio attacca tutto il governo e tutto il paese, però questo non può e non deve mettere in discussione i buoni rapporti fra Italia e Stati Uniti, che prescindono dal Presidente attuale o dal Presidente futuro.
בהתחלה זה היה על כל התושבים, דרומית לזה. בתוך האזור הזה 200,000 תושבים לא נמצאים ולא יחזרו. הם לא חוזרים, וצה"ל עכשיו אוכף את זה. יש שם חיילים, אין תושבים, אין מחבלים. בתוך המנהרות עוד מטפלים בהם. למה? כי מה שקרה בעבר עם אזורי הביטחון, ביחד עם אוכלוסייה, זה היה מטענים ופיגועים נגד החיילים. ולכן אנחנו לא מאפשרים להם לחזור. יותר מזה, קו הכפרים הראשון שבתוך הקו הצהוב, כל הכפרים
הרוס לחלוטין, כן, עד פתחת אביבים.
הגדרנו את זה.
סיימנו 100%.
הגדרנו, בסדר, אתה רוצה עד בירות, זה הכל טוב.
לא.
So we have to regroup. We have to adapt to the new circumstances. And irrespective of whether there is a deal or not, and irrespective of whether there is support for the Iranian people or not, our struggle will continue. So we are regrouping, we are reorganizing. I think the people eventually will find another chance to come to the streets at the right time, obviously, given some circumstances.
High price. President Trump started this war making big promises about regime change and big promises to the Iranian people. Are you disappointed in the way that he's finished it?
Well, I don't know if it's finished yet,
well,
because as you know, every few hours we have a different tweet coming from this president, and all of a sudden the headline changes from one thing to the other. So I'm not reading too much to any statement that has been made. And in fact, I was, just following a little bit what was happening live in Evian.
Do you want to be part of the political process?
Well, I'm glad you're asking the question, because it has never been a case for me to run for office or position. But I'm uniquely placed to be an agent of change and transition. There's a trust in me. That's why when on January 8th at Make a Call, millions of people came out there supporting me and chanting my name and asking for my leadership.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Thanks for joining us today. Big show today. We got a lot of big names coming on. Ed Dowd will be on in the second segment. I've got Avelo Airlines, their chief marketing officer, who's going to talk to us about the industry and what's happening there. And then second hour, Pete Blaber on Ukraine SitRep. So don't go anywhere. It's going to be a very, very full show. I want to say hello to the crew in the chat. Thank you for all the engagement. I mean, I've got some real regulars out there who are posting all over everything, YouTube to Rumble to just, it's fantastic. Thank you so much. Really, 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 really appreciate it. And it means a lot. And it's extremely helpful to grow our numbers. Check out whatfinger.com. Really good aggregator site. They're always improving and always posting a lot of our content. And we really appreciate that. You saw Reza Pahlavi, I guess you say, saying he's the man in Iran, that millions of people came out and supported him. I mean, that's an absolute lie. He has a very hardcore group of supporters, but it's not millions. So that's just ridiculous. And this is in the face of President Trump posting an interview with Ali Reza, which we know well at the National Council of Resistance in Iran, the Iranian resistance, and highlighting that group, which the Iranian regime fears. That's the only thing they fear is the MEK. And so the resistance on the ground in Iran, which doesn't want or need American arms or money. They just want support of the American government from the bully pulpit. So maybe that's coming, but we've been on this story for a long, long time, and we're going to continue to talk about it. Let's do the mission brief. Today is June 25th. Here's your mission brief. I'm your host, Todd Wood. Tucker is running an info op. That's obvious. What is it? Who is it? Who's it for? We'll talk about that. Earthquake in Venezuela, just horrific. You know, an earthquake's an earthquake, but this one was really bad. And we pray for the people of Venezuela, and glad the United States is helping. Netanyahu admits he forced Trump into the war. That was quite surprising yesterday. We put out an article on that. The Ukrainian front is collapsing. Pete Blaber and I will discuss the second hour. And the military reinstitutes the flu vax. Not cool. Not cool at all. We don't know if it's mRNA or what, but the vax thing just won't die. The Matrix wants it. The Blob wants it. The big pharma, the bioweapons industrial complex want it desperately. I think probably because it's a great way to test clinical trials without informed consent. I mean, that's what the COVID vaccine was. It was many things, but one of the things it was a clinical trial without you knowing it. So there was different lots, hot lots and not. Some people died, some people didn't. Some people just got placebo, but that's what rolled with that. All right, we're going to be right back. I've got a big show today. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us on the SCIF.
Every day, your data is being tracked, collected, and sold, often without you even realizing it. Big tech companies control your devices, your apps, and the information you share. From your messages to your browsing habits, everything is being monitored and stored. Over time, we've traded privacy for convenience, and most people don't even question it. But what if you could take that control back? That's where Mark 37 comes in. Mark 37 provides privacy-focused phones, laptops, and tablets designed to give you full control over your digital life. With secure systems, expert support, and simple tools, they make it easier to step away from constant tracking and data collection. Because privacy isn't just a feature, it's a fundamental choice. It's about protecting your data, your freedom, and your future. Take back control of your digital life with Mark 37.
And by the way, I wanted to say I'm starting my journey with Sean. I'm going to be getting a Ghost phone and then upgrading to a Ghost computer soon, because I am going to unplug for the Matrix. And you can follow me along on my journey. So mark37.com/CDM is where you want to go to do that. Find the webinar, sign up for the webinar, and learn everything you need to know to get started. And then you can also sign up for a free 30-minute consultation on privacy there at mark37.com/CDM. But I'm looking forward to it, and I have been worried about privacy for some time. So I'm going to be taking the plunge and changing my life and unplugging from the Matrix, and I'm really looking forward to it. So maybe you can join me.
A warm welcome here at the National Press Club. Welcome to the journalists, welcome to the Embraer team, and welcome to the other guests that we have here. Going to announce, and as some of you guessed it right when they came in, the first E2 order by an American operator. And that operator is Avello. We believe this is really a strategic shift to unlock profitability for the customer. I'm very pleased that we have Andrew Levy here as the CEO of Avello, and I'm very pleased to give the stage to share a little bit more about what Avello is going to do with the E2 195. Thank you very much.
Couldn't be more excited to be here as part of this historic announcement. We have such a great cultural fit as companies, so we're very, very excited to be Embraer's newest customer. We launched our airline in April of 21, and our target is focusing on small secondary airports of large metro areas. We've carried over 8 million customers since we started on 63,000 flights. And we've done all these things with 1,200 of the greatest crew members I could ever imagine having, and many of them are here with me today. This is the right airplane for us. It's going to open up opportunities for us that no other aircraft can serve. The best thing about the airplane, of course, is you will not find a middle seat on this airplane. It doesn't exist. we won't have any to offer. It's going to be the best cabin in the United States, and we're so excited about that. This is going to elevate our experience to the highest level, and we think our customers are absolutely going to love the airplane.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
Okay, I sat down with Ed Dowd because he's my go-to guy for the trends in the market and what is happening. I think you're really going to enjoy this interview. Ed is former portfolio manager at BlackRock and now a principal at Phoenix or Finance Technology, spelled with a PH. And they put out a lot of really interesting, insightful, early research on what's coming down the pike in the markets. So I think you will enjoy this one. We're back with Ed Dowd. He's gracious enough to come talk to us. He's with principal at Finance Technologies. Ed, thank you for the time.
Hey, great being here, Todd. Thank you.
Last time we talked, you were issuing warnings about the economy, credit collapse, recession, et cetera. Where do you think we are now that we supposedly have a deal? What do you think?
Well, a couple things. Nothing's changed on our economy forecast since I was here last. Everything's kind of gotten worse. Is what we're tracking. Housing's rolling over. Housing starts plummeted. The China situation continues to go south, and the AI bubble is the only thing that's making everybody feel super complacent. And I would like to, tell people it's now 45% of the S&P 500 market cap is AI or AI adjacent. Semiconductors are 19% of the S&P 500 as an industry, and they're 30% of the NASDAQ. I've been here before. This is the only thing that's working in the stock market is AI. And if you strip out AI, stocks have gone nowhere since, the rally that came out of the ceasefire, at the bottom in April. So this is all fugazi. It's going to burst. And, I know people think if the stock market's doing fine, everything's fine. It's not fine. We all know that. Trump's poll numbers are in the tank. The average consumer is continuing to experience credit stress on their credit cards, their auto loans, and housing. Mortgage stress is starting to rise. So it's all happening, and credit is effectively frozen. Private credit and private equity are on life support. And the last credit impulse we saw was just a couple of these mega AI deals. And the last one that was done, the big one, was done with Broadcom pledging its balance sheet should there be a waterfall loss, they're pledging their balance sheet. So we're at the end stages here, and we're seeing the Fortune 500 companies are pausing on AI because the token maxing situation, the cost to deliver for things that really don't give you any ROI is causing a pause. So this was a fever pitch. All the Fortune 500 companies have pilots they spent. Now they're horrified at the costs, and they're not really seeing any benefit. So I think we're at an inflection point, and let's go on to the deal. So the deal is I wrote a letter to my subscribers saying we needed a deal. So is it a deal? It's a memorandum of understanding that needs to be formalized, and a lot can happen between now and then. So it's a good first step, but there's a lot of uncertainty. A lot of people don't like Israel's one. Even people within the IRGC, the Iranian, some of the hardliners don't like it. And I think Trump wanted to get out of this. I think he's realized he made a mistake. We had 4 weeks of reserves left in the oil tanks. So it's a good first step by Trump. Whether or not the peace holds, we'll see. And just watch the price of oil. Oil will tell you if there's going to be problems. Oil discounted that a deal was coming, and we saw that, and that's why I put out what I said, and he did. He delivered again, I'm not going to debate whether it's good, bad, we surrendered, whatever. A deal is what the American consumer needs. We can't have another, we can't have oil prices shooting up above 150 because then they go to.
It's what the world needs, right? Not
Yeah.
just the American consumer.
Exactly.
Right?
Everybody needs it. And look, I have a bearish outlook on the economy, and I certainly wasn't rooting for an oil price shock, and I was happy to see this. I still think what's coming is coming. It's endogenous to the economy. You can kick the can the road. You can kick the can down the road a little bit on cycles, but you can't prevent them. They're coming. They're coming hard and fast. The new Fed chair. Let's go there. He got rid of forward guidance, which is a good move. We're getting back to freer markets. Let the markets look at the data and then price and interest rate moves. And that gives the Fed the element of surprise now, which they didn't have. I think it's a good move. It creates more volatility and uncertainty. And I watched his statements and I watched what the yield curve did. The 2-year went up because people thought it was a hawkish talk. But if you looked at the long end, the long bond didn't move, unchanged on the day. I think we might have one more retest of the lows in the long bond. I watched the 30-year like a hawk. That's where real growth and inflation expectations are set. Yep. You're a former bond guy, so you know this.
Yep.
We had a major low in the 30-year price and high in the 30-year yield in May. I think that might be a big bottom. We might retest it, but I think we're going to see throughout the course of the next 6 to 12 months, the Fed going from worrying about inflation to worrying about a growth scare, and that'll happen fairly quickly. But we got to follow the data, and the data is suggesting that we're going to see unemployment claims rise and layoffs rise as we roll through time. So it's coming, and the housing market's 20% of the economy. I think construction layoffs are coming big time.
What about the expensive markets? Miami Beach, New York City, all that kind of. Are they going to feel this too?
Oh, look, it's the expensive markets will eventually feel it, but the average home price is starting to decline nationally, and it's mostly in the South where the immigration was the hardest, and the blue cities will eventually feel it, and it's coming, but. Again, housing is a white swan event. It's a slow-moving train wreck. There's been a disconnect between the prices and the buyers, and we have a record gap between homes for sale versus homes sold. So that buyers are on a strike because they just can't make the math work. The incomes haven't risen to justify the home price increases. Another indicator is rents. It's cheaper to rent a house than it is to buy a house. That's an anomaly, and that'll correct itself through price. So we're here, and today it was interesting. Apparently, money managers are completely overweight semiconductors right now, and that I explained that phenomenon. Let's say you're at Fidelity, and you missed the move in semis and you're underweight versus your benchmark. You feel stupid, but then the risk police come to you because every one of these firms has risk police, and they tell you your tracking error is too high because you're underweight semis, which are now 19% of the S&P 500 and a notoriously cyclical industry. And they tell you what they really are saying implicitly is your job's on the line. So you cut your underweight in semis. You buy more, but you do it to save your job. But the real call is to go to zero weight semis and pick up 1,000 basis points when semis go down 50%. But no one does that because everybody is a benchmark hugger. So that's where we are. I think we're seeing the ending moves in semis. They've gone parabolic. Saw this during the .com era, and it ends very badly.
So the risk police force you to put on more risk.
This is what's perverse about it. It's risk versus a benchmark.
Yes.
So not owning enough semis is considered risk. But
so
really,
buy at the top.
but really, I fought this battle at BlackRock all the time. We had risk police. They'd come in and say your tracking error is too high, and we would say, well, that's what we sold to our institutional clients. We don't look like the benchmark, and we run a high tracking error product. And we'd have this battle all the time. You have you're underweight this industry group. That's a lot of risk. We're underweight that group for a reason. We think it's going to underperform over the next 12 months.
Wow. On that note, I interviewed Andy Huff. I don't know if you know him recently, and he's a big quant AI guy, and he was saying that the market is, if NVIDIA or OpenAI have problems, then the whole market collapses. Would you agree with that?
Well, there's a lot of circular financing, and that's part of the problem, right? So there's been speculation by some that NVIDIA has sold a lot of chips that reside in warehouses, because they're building out data centers, and if the data centers get paused because of power constraints, so there's suspicion that there's inventory chips in warehouses. They haven't been deployed. So if that's the case, there's already a hidden inventory problem. And you know how that ends with commodities. Once the market sniffs that out, it's over.
What do you think about the whole Fed Lisa Cook situation? Do you think that's going to get resolved in a positive manner for Trump or not?
I don't want to speculate on that. I haven't been following that too closely, so I kind of view that as a non-event.
Okay. Credit markets. Anything else you see cracking?
Well, look, you don't have to listen to me. Listen to the head of PIMCO. They're one of the biggest bond shops in the planet. He just basically said the credit default cycle has begun and losses are going to be bigger than people think. And if you look at the flows on private credit, which was the incremental driver of credit growth for the last, 24 and 25, all the credit growth came from private credit. That's effectively frozen. We have more outflows. We have outflows exceeding inflows, and people are asking for their money back. So that market's effectively frozen. And it's all about the flows. And once the flows start, and then once they go the wrong way, it's peak credit.
Yeah. What about how long is it going to take? Let's say this deal stays in place, and the oil, Trump and Iran are both saying the oil's flowing out of the strait. How long does it take the energy markets to get back to some sense of normalcy, do you think?
There's been a lot of people, look,
I lost your audio. Can you hear me? I lost your audio. Can't hear you.
It's going to take a while to normalize. But until the price of oil goes up to destroy demand destruction, it's all moot at this point. So, there's a debate on both sides, and I'll just watch oil. Now, the bulls on oil are telling you we're going to run out, and once we do, prices are going to explode. Well, we'll just watch the price of oil to see if that's true. The Exxon executives and the Chevron executives were talking about $150 oil if there isn't a deal. So we got a deal. So now we got to see what the normalization of this is. The aftermath of all this. And again, I'm a market guy. Just watch the price of oil.
Any thoughts on fertilizer, food stocks, food production, all of that based on energy and oil?
Well, apparently wheat prices have come down. Again, I have a deflationary bias. We run in inflation models, and we're seeing core CPI below 2% by the first quarter of 2027. 45% of the CPI and core CPI is housing, and that's going the wrong way.
So bonds would be a buy here at some point.
I said that at the beginning of the year. Yeah. TLT is, I said check in with me at the end of the year. So I need a year for my TLT will be one of the best performing assets. But right now I'm wrong at the moment. But equity markets can move fast and quick, and by the end of the year, if we have a global growth scare, which I think is coming, it'll be a different world.
Wow. Anything else you want to get out on the markets? What do you think?
When I watched Kevin, it's his first debut. Kevin Warsh, the new head of the Fed. The two things I noticed that I think speak volumes: the dollar went through a new 52-week high. It broke a year-long kind of consolidation, and that's telling you something. And then the long bond didn't move, and that's telling you something. The big capital is already starting to move, and I think that is the beginnings of people realizing there's a global growth scare coming.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Ed. Appreciate your time, man. As always, great insight. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on. Great to be here.
Nucleo wasn't a product that was developed and to sell, really. What it really was a journey to get me well after my experience trying to immigrate and get married to an American citizen in order to get my green card. Towards the end, they send you for a medical, and that's where they sat me down and gave me 16 vaccines in one sitting. At the time, I knew when I was going through it that it's probably not good, but I didn't realize that I'm about to go through the worst health experience of my life. And that's when I went on this journey and understand that nutrition is actually your medicine. I've always heard the old people say your food's in your garden, but we didn't get it. And your body is always trying to heal itself. I mean, you know, when you cut yourself in a couple of days, it heals. And that is the process of homeostasis. Your body is always every cell in your body is always healing itself. And just like anything, if you bake a cake or you build a house, you need the right ingredients to achieve the result. Now, if you don't have the correct nutrition and you're not eating the correct food, it's like trying to build a house without bricks. Now, a lot of people, they say, what does Nucleo do? Nucleo itself does nothing. It's not designed to do anything. Your body does the work. It gives your body all the things it needs, balanced in, and it works together to deliver the correct nutritional supplement that you need as a human being to function normally.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, regular $69.98. Now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard MyPillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Thanks for joining us today. Want to second MyPillow.com. Please go to MyPillow.com and use promo code CDM. It's that time of year. You got, I know I have relatives where they got kids on the way to college, graduating from college, going to prep school. You're going to need bedding and all that kind of stuff. So MyPillow.com, promo code CDM. And I'm telling you, if you want to really make somebody happy, get them the mattress topper. Go to MyPillow.com, use promo code CDM. Get them the mattress topper. They will be yours for life. I guarantee you. I say it's like sleeping on a firm cloud. I always look forward to getting back to it. I'm not joking, and I'm not just saying that because I want to sell mattress toppers, although I do. But I actually love the thing. So check it out. Also, I want to give a shout out to the Wellness Company. A groundbreaking new study shows that there is a safe and inexpensive potential cancer treatment, and it's a drug that many of us already know about, ivermectin. This new study shows that individuals who took ivermectin, the parasite-fighting medication that gained fame during the COVID pandemic, along with the drug mebendazole, saw remarkable results in their battles with cancer. This incredibly promising results have many Americans wondering where they can obtain U.S.-made ivermectin and mebendazole, and that's where the Wellness Company comes in. You see and hear from TWC doctors all the time on this network, and you know their products are the gold standard for keeping you and your family safe and healthy. The Wellness Company is making 100% American-made ivermectin and mebendazole available to our viewers at an incredibly affordable price point. Say no to Big Pharma's greed and say no to Big Pharma's poisons, and say yes to a company that you can trust to bring you the safe, affordable, effective treatment you desire. If you or someone else you love is interested in trying ivermectin plus mebendazole, then I urge you to go to twc.health/CDM today and order. That's twc.health/CDM. Use promo code CDM and you get 10% off. All right. I promised Avelo Airlines. I had a fantastic interview with their new marketing director, and I think you're really going to enjoy this. It's not just about Avelo, but about the industry and what's going on. So here we go. I'm honored to be with Scott D'Angelo, who is the new, I understand, marketing representative at Avelo Airlines, one of our favorite sponsors. Scott, thanks for coming on today, man.
My pleasure.
And you're in the airport, so it's busy there, but I'm used to that. I'm actually flying Avelo all the time. I love the experience. But tell me what's going on with the airline.
Yeah, so lots of exciting stuff. Let's start with New Haven, right? This past week, we celebrated our inaugural flights from New Haven Tweed to Indianapolis and Cleveland, which is a huge deal for really starting to, open up the Midwest. If you're flying us, you're probably most likely flying us along the Eastern Seaboard, and both Cleveland and Indianapolis really start to move toward the left, if you will, across the map, sure, and help not only the leisure travelers that certainly have been kind of the heart and soul of what's grown us to this point, but now increasingly seeing a lot of business travelers as well. So it helps provide more options and more opportunities to fly from closer to home. And I saw that you switched airports in Houston, right? Is that on the agenda as well? Indeed, we did. So we are going to be going from, if you look today, we have 30 routes, 2 of which are to Houston, but service to Houston Bush is going to be Houston Hobby will be transferring to Houston Bush. So from HOU to IAH, for those familiar with the airport codes. And that was a strategic decision, first rooted in what our customers wanted. I recently relocated to Houston, and like much of Houston, live up in the northern suburbs. And IH is just more centrally located for those visiting family and relatives in particular to get to and from. It also, while not going into detail, is actually a better operational fit for us. And so some of the complexities and costs that go along to operating out of an airport actually are better for us at IAH. So for all those reasons, we're going to be making that switch and announced it today. And you're still going into Dallas as well, right? Am I correct? Correct. Okay. We're only adding at this point. Had a new one I know we're going to talk about in a little bit that's going to be near and dear to one of our biggest markets out of New Haven. That's Puerto Rico, but I'll await your lead to talk about the exciting news and Aguadilla. Well, let's jump into that. The Caribbean's a favorite destination of mine, and most Americans don't know a lot about it, because they know the big spots, but they don't really know the history. But it's massively important, especially with maybe Cuba coming online. There's a lot happening. Tell me what you guys are doing. You bet. So today we announced a new nonstop route to Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. For those not familiar with Puerto Rico or not familiar with it outside of San Juan, Aguadilla sits up in the northwest portion of the island, and it's a gateway to just world-class beaches, surfing, outdoor activity, and that's important for those looking to vacation there. But a lot of our customers are going there to visit friends and relatives. And so what it does is it opens up the west side of the island and makes it easy for those who are going to visit friends and family there, to not have to traverse the whole island from east to west and get them to where they're going sooner. So big win for the VFR segment, also a big win for vacationers who may or may not have been to Puerto Rico via San Juan to explore another and a beautiful part of the island.
That's a big deal down in the Caribbean. You get to where you're going and you realize you have another hour bus ride or something on a maybe not so nice of a bus. So that is a huge deal.
Absolutely. You know, I think on the map, some of these islands look small, and they're small until you have to drive them. And for those who have had to drive them, especially those going to visit family that may live, in the western region of Puerto Rico, having this new flight to Aguadilla is going to be just a huge time and money savings. Get to, the people and the places they want to visit faster and cheaper.
So the reason I love Avelo, because, I fly in and out of Connecticut a lot, and just literally if I'm at an Airbnb and I need to go to Miami, I just get an Uber to the Tweed. They drop me off at front. I walk right in. I mean, it's literally like 10 minutes in line and you're done and you're getting your cup of coffee, and then it's just a great experience. Are you looking at other airports that you're trying to, that model, if you will?
Yeah. So we have 4 bases currently. I was here in North Carolina to visit one of those today. Our good friends at Concord Paget Regional Airport. All of them are the same model. The other 2 are Wilmington, Delaware, serving those outside the greater Philly metro area. And down in Lakeland, Florida, a real hidden jewel that sits in Central Florida, kind of equidistant between Tampa and Orlando. And it was New Haven Tweed that really, became kind of the bedrock of that model, and that convenience that you're talking about. And that has now formed the model that we've now replicated in 3 other markets, and soon to add an additional base in Texas being announced next week. What they all have in common is where you park, where you check in, getting through TSA, your aircraft's just on the other side of the wall. And, you do it all in reverse on your way home. That convenience is a big part of what it means to travel Avelo.
And I was talking to Courtney a while back that the crews always seem so happy. It's like such a change. You get on, some of the big airliners, and they're angry and they're nasty, and it's not that way on Avelo.
No, it's a real thing, and I'll tell you, it's not just by chance. We certainly do have a philosophy of one crew and look to attract the types of folks that represent our soul of service. But to operationally, right, one of the ways that we remove complexity and cost from the business is we have these bases like New Haven, which is our largest, and the aircraft live there. Our crew members live in the communities. They fly out, they fly back. Everyone, aircraft and crew members, are home that night. And let me tell you, the quality of life of that versus 3-4 days on the road where you might be catching a crew member of another airline that's on the back end on their way back home is a huge difference just in our crew members' personal lives, which is very important to us, but in the way that then they pay that back and treat our customers so well.
It is a thing, as you said. It's I was on a flight recently, a young flight attendant, I almost said stewardess, but she was there was a young family there with a baby that was obviously excited, and next thing I know, she's walking the baby up and down the aisle. I was like, wow, this is real service here. What's new at Avelo besides just the routes? Anything else coming down the pipe?
Yeah, so we have a great new product. It's called a Disruption Assistance for Any Reason. It's a partnership between us and a great company called Hopper Technology Solutions. Some consumers may have come across them as kind of an online travel agency, but a real leader in travel data and technology. And here's the product in a nutshell. We call it our Peace of Mind Edition. You pay for it. The price can vary, but it averages around $30 per flight. And if your flight is disrupted, which is defined as a 2-hour or more delay, and or certainly should something happen that results in a cancellation, you are reaccommodated via another airline to your destination, and or should you not like that, you are given your full refund to your original form of payment, and no questions asked. And by the way, let's say the flight was delayed by 5 hours. You saw your options, which you're more than happy with this product to get and no additional charge. You don't like them. You say, give me my money back. Your money goes back. You can still take our flight. Like, no one's stopping you from just getting back on the flight again. It is a great peace of mind, especially for those routes. And there's fewer and fewer of them in New Haven as we've been growing the number of days that we fly the routes. But take it down to Puerto Rico. There's sometimes where it might be a Monday, Friday combination. And should something happen, inclement weather, and, you know, impact that Monday, well, we're not scheduled to fly again till the end of the week. So this becomes a great product that you can buy with confidence, because more than 98% of the time, right, there's no cancellations. In fact, we're among the industry leaders in both, you know, completion factors, we call it, and on-time performance. But it's a great peace of mind to have as a benefit. And like I said, it changes by flight, but our average price being shown there is about $30 per flight. So for, you know, longer hauls where we may not have daily service, I would just encourage our customers to be on the lookout for that. Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't share that we're excited to have crossed over 135,000 members of our Velo Plus discount membership. It's a great thing that gets you, you know, instant discounts on your flights and invites you to private sales. But for those who don't know, it marries up really nicely with our Velo World Elite MasterCard, which, think of a Velo Plus as getting you the discount on flights, but with your card, right, in addition to free priority boarding, you get to select your free standard seat, no additional charge, and your free carry-on bag. I've done some examples for, you know, our entire, you know, crew, just showing them from a customer point of view what kind of savings this can represent. And it's not uncommon for a family of four, say, flying from New Haven to Orlando, when you have both a Velo Plus and you have our Velo credit card, to be able to save as much as $800. And here's the kicker: that's from day one of having the service. It's not like a program that you join and you need to fly a bunch of miles or spend thousands of dollars before, you know, you have any status or you can get any benefit. You get all those things day one. So would just encourage, you know, any and all of our customers, and even folks who aren't yet our customers and looking into it, there's a lot to like about the ways to save with Avelo and have a great experience with our Avelo Plus program, as well as our Avelo World Elite MasterCard program.
Outstanding. And the new aircraft is on the way. When does that officially kick in? Do you know?
Yeah. So, you know, as we've announced, 2028 is when we expect to get delivery. Aircraft, especially new aircraft, take time, but the Embraer E2s are a fantastic aircraft. For those not familiar, they'll have a 2-2 configuration. So just a real nice no middle seat option. And this at a high level operationally, extremely fuel efficient aircraft, and a smaller aircraft, which is great for us because there are a ton of options out there, places that folks in and around New Haven probably want to go, that it just doesn't make sense to fly 180, 190 customers at a time, right? There's just not the demand for that. Well, smaller aircraft means fewer seats you have to fill to make it, you know, a strong proposition to be able to go there. It also means that for some of those markets, right, with small secondary airports with smaller runways, you need an aircraft that is physically able to land there. So just the amount of excitement we have about what the future looks like, 2028 and beyond, when those aircraft start to arrive is exciting. And between now and then, we continue to induct new aircraft and continue to grow nonetheless. And that just gives us more degrees of freedom down the road.
Outstanding. So last question, but it may be a good problem to have, but as you're growing, I see so many people there Are you going to run out of space like at Tweed or other places like that? I mean, or is there room to grow, I guess is the question.
Yeah. So we certainly look forward to the prospect of the new airport facility, and are certainly partnering closely with all of the folks there, because you're convenient, you're not crowded, word gets out.
Yeah.
What happens? You're still convenient in proximity. Yes, we still, just as you noted, it's a better experience in and out. But now you become a victim of your own success in a sense that everyone wants it, and so you do have crowds. So the relief is, we do everything we can through scheduling to try and create, times where we have space in between, and you're not too closely packed. But we have so many routes going out of there, like that becomes hard to do. So it's really just partnering with all the organizations committed to bringing a new and bigger facility there, several years from now. And in the meantime, we're trying to work on ideas to just make the ingress and the egress easier. That pickup process, we know is crowded on certain nights when there's a bunch of arriving flights. And so just coming up with creative solutions on ways that, whether it's helping, our customers, passengers get through, or helping, bags more streamlined get to their rightful owners. Those are the kind of things we're doing in between now and the time that there's a newer, larger facility to handle the demand that, we, our customers, have created together there.
Well, I can say from experience that the people realize what you're dealing with, and it's a happy crowd. I mean, I can't say that enough. The customers understand, and there's not like bar fights or anything like that you see some of these other places. But anyway, anything else, Scott, you want to get out?
No, just appreciate the time. Want to thank the people of New Haven and all of those around the area who actually, drive even longer in some cases to be part of something really special we have going on with New Haven and with Tweed Airport. So I appreciate you calling me in to talk about it today.
We'll have you back down the road. Thanks, Scott.
All right. Take good care.
Bye.
Safe journey.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest Made in America sale ever. We just put huge discounts on products made right here in the USA. My Pillow bed pillows, body pillows, go anywhere pillows, bolster pillows, all made with my patented adjustable fill. Mattresses, mattress toppers, mattress pads, adjustable bed frames, mattress foundations, and so much more. All made right here in the USA. And now we're expanding our USA products beyond just quality sleep. Like the cross I wear every day, now available in both men's and women's. We even have USA-made socks. And are you tired of being tired? Try our new health beverage, Rev 7. Or how about my coffee, the greatest coffee ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get deep discounts on all these products. Plus, for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Divorce is tough, but your finances don't have to be. I'm David Cross, and I'm a certified divorce financial analyst practitioner. My job is to help you get a fair financial settlement in your divorce and to guide you to smarter money decisions. Find out how we can help you. U.S. Asset Management. It's your money.
A warm welcome here at the National Press Club. Welcome to the journalists, welcome to the Embraer team, and welcome to the other guests that we have here. We're going to announce, and as some of you guessed it right when they came in, the first E2 order by an American operator. And that operator is Avello. We believe this is really a strategic shift to unlock profitability for the customer. I'm very pleased that we have Andrew Levy here as the CEO of Avello, and I'm very pleased to give the stage to share a little bit more about what Avello is going to do with the E2 195. Thank you very much.
Couldn't be more excited to be here as part of this historic announcement. We have such a great cultural fit as companies, so we're very, very excited to be Embraer's newest customer. We launched our airline in April of 21. And our target is focusing on small secondary airports of large metro areas. We've carried over 8 million customers since we started on 63,000 flights. And we've done all these things with 1,200 of the greatest crew members I could ever imagine having, and many of them are here with me today. This is the right airplane for us. It's going to open up opportunities for us that no other aircraft can serve. The best thing about the airplane, of course, is you will not find a middle seat on this airplane. It doesn't exist. We won't have any to offer. It's going to be the best cabin in the United States, and we're so excited about that. This is going to elevate our experience to the highest level, and we think our customers are absolutely going to love the airplane.
Fighting soldiers from the sky, fearless men who jump and die, men who mean just what they say, the brave men of the Green Beret, silver wings.
Welcome back to the SCIF. I've got Pete Blaber coming on here in the second hour. I hope. He said he was coming. I haven't seen him yet in the green room, but we're waiting. Got a full show, a full hour on that, on Ukraine, Iran, Europe, everything we're going to talk about. So stand by for Pete. Let's walk through some stories. So the U.S. military, Pete Hegseth, had previously dropped the flu vaccine, but they just reinstated it because of a bunch of, I guess, 300 flu cases down in Texas. This is interesting, and it's not good because the flu, there's not much evidence the flu vaccine actually does anything for the flu. And it's also a big consideration about mRNA changing the DNA of humans as well. So all this, hold on, I'm just, okay. Pete Blaber says his stuff isn't working, so we may have to postpone that. He's trying to come in and it's not working, so I'm not sure what's going on. Anyway, the U.S. military has reinstated the flu vaccine. That's not good, and we're going to investigate and stay on the story because it's not something that we think is good for our troops or for anyone. This one I just wrote this morning. Tucker Carlson is running for something. There's a coordinated info op going on. This is obvious, and this is a really, I think, insightful article. Tucker's been talking about, our system's over, it's dead, it's not going to work, something new is coming. And Alex Jones teed up him running for president yesterday, and Tucker, of course, denied it. But Tucker's running for something, and it's a big operation behind him, and it's coordinated with a lot of other influencers. So I would recommend you check out this article and read through it and digest it. And we're going to continue to report on it. We reported on his throwing the MEK. Hold on, I'm just responding to Pete. Yes, we'll talk. Okay, so Tucker is running for something, and there's a coordinated info op going on. And we're going to figure out what it is. We talked about him dissing the MEK and putting them under the bus, and then Trump came out and for the MEK. So there's a lot happening. Check out this article, though. It's really interesting, and I think you'll enjoy it. Of course, the earthquake overnight in Venezuela, we reported on that on CDM. We'll stay up on that. And then another one, which was fascinating yesterday, is that Bibi Netanyahu came out and said, yeah, I told Trump we're going to go to war, which is what Marco Rubio said previously. And so he just confirmed that. A lot of the legacy media was saying it's not true. Marco didn't say that, but Bibi just admitted it. So there you go. So, which of course made the U.S. go to war. Maybe they were going to go anyway, but they have to support Israel because Israel can't defend itself from all the ballistic missiles, etc. So fascinating discussion yesterday from Bibi. All right, Ukrainian update. I was hoping to do this with Pete, but it looks like he's still got tech problems, so we're going to have to slouch that to another day. But Ukrainian front is collapsing in the east, and they just evacuated 12 villages in the north. and Zelensky is threatening Belarus and Poland. So, by the way, I'm going to bring this up. We have another. We're doing a lot of AI work. Now, we don't have any, everything we do is real. Just because we deliver something in a certain way doesn't mean our reporting is AI. It's, for instance, in Ukraine, we have a lot of reporters and their identities can't come up on the screen. So we've created an AI avatar to do that. And I'm just going to run that so you can see that there's a lot of problems in Ukraine, and we're on it. And I want some feedback on these because I think they're really good for delivery. But tell me what you think. Here we go.
We have observed a definite shift in tactics by Ukrainian leadership in its fight against the Russian Federation. First is the obvious reliance on long-range strike weapons to hit targets deep into Siberia, thousands of kilometers from the front lines of the conflict, seemingly provided by British security services, in addition to licensing production inside Ukraine. This has had a significant effect on Russian fuel production. The Russian capital of Moscow has also been targeted for psychological reasons. But second, and not as well reported in the legacy media, are the threats by Zelensky against Belarus, otherwise known as White Russia, on the northern Ukrainian border. Belarus has a soft political alliance with Russia called the Union State, developed after the fall of the Soviet Union. The threats against Belarus and even Poland seem to be happening to lay the stage to bring NATO into the war via Article 5 of the NATO Treaty. An attack on one is an attack on all. This may be happening as Kiev recognizes the endgame is being reached in Donbass, with Russia now occupying more key cities. The United States should withdraw from the conflict entirely to not be drawn into the total war that is coming on the continent. Follow us on cdm.press.
So I'd really like to know what you think of those. Send me an email because it's a very easy way for us to get information out in a very productive way. Let me get rid of that. So I see Pete Blaber in the green room. We'll bring in him shortly. But my point is, we have real reporters on the ground in Kiev, but a lot of them we can't disclose their identities. And so we're creating these avatars to deliver the information. So again, our audience, if you could email me and let me know what you think. All right. There's Mr. Blaber. How you doing, Pete?
Todd, I
can't hear you. You can't hear me.
I can't hear you. Test.
I can hear you. Let me text you, Pete. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back, and I'm going to call Pete. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Excited to announce that we're having our biggest Made in America sale ever. We just put huge discounts on products made right here in the USA. My Pillow bed pillows, body pillows, go anywhere pillows, bolster pillows, all made with my patented adjustable fill. Mattresses, mattress toppers, mattress pads, adjustable bed frames, mattress foundations, and so much more. All made right here in the USA. And now we're expanding our USA products beyond just quality sleep. Like the cross I wear every day, now available in both men's and women's. We even have USA-made socks. And are you tired of being tired? Try our new health beverage, Rev 7. Or how about my coffee, the greatest coffee ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get deep discounts on all these products. Plus, for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Divorce is tough, but your finances don't have to be. I'm David Cross, and I'm a certified divorce financial analyst practitioner. My job is to help you get a fair financial settlement in your divorce and to guide you to smarter money decisions. Find out how we can help you. U.S. Asset Management. It's your money.
A warm welcome here at the National Press Club. Welcome to the journalists, welcome to the Embra team, and welcome to the other guests that we have here. We're going to announce, and as some of you guessed it right when they came in, the first E2 order by an American operator. And that operator is Avello. We believe this is really a strategic shift to unlock profitability for the customer. I'm very pleased that we have Andrew Levy here as the CEO of Avelo, and I'm very pleased to give the stage to share a little bit more about what Avelo is going to do with the E2 195. Thank you very much.
Couldn't be more excited to be here as part of this historic announcement. We have such a great cultural fit as companies, so we're very, very excited to be Embraer's newest customer. We launched our airline in April of 21, and our target is focusing on small secondary airports of large metro areas. We've carried over 8 million customers since we started on 63,000 flights. So we've done all these things with 1,200 of the greatest crew members I could ever imagine having, and many of them are here with me today. This is the right airplane for us. It's going to open up opportunities for us that no other aircraft can serve. The best thing about the airplane, of course, is you will not find a middle seat on this airplane. It doesn't exist. We won't have any to offer. It's going to be the best cabin in the United States, and we're so excited about that. This is going to elevate our experience to the highest level, and we think our customers are absolutely going to love the airplane.
Fighting soldiers from the sky, fearless men who jump and die, men who mean just what they say, the brave men of the Green Beret, silver wings.
Okay, I think we got this figured out. I'm going to bring in Mr. Blaber. Pete, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Good, I can. Todd, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Outstanding. You look great. All rested from Spain, just out on the beach.
Yeah. It was the beach was a small part of it, but to our viewers, we tried this last week. I was on the ground in Europe in the Black Sea area, where I met with what I'll just call guys on the ground, which included many citizens of the countries we'll talk about today. And more about that in episodes in the coming weeks. And before we get going, what I want to share with our viewers is something that didn't happen in Europe. It happened once I arrived back in the U.S., and that was just this feeling of overwhelming gratitude that I felt for the fact that I live in this great and beautiful country that we call America. And if anyone needs to be reminded of just how good we have it and why this country is so worth fighting for, just do a little bit of world travel. And you'll feel the same thing that I felt when I stepped off the plane. And that's, I'm proud to be an American and grateful for our freedoms, which is why we do this show, because they've been under attack for the last 16 years and most intensely over these last 2. So very grateful to be back. I'm tech savvy to our viewers, but something happened to my computer when I got to the Black Sea area. I probably saw who I was, and we were able to work through that. But it just shows you at any time you can be the victim of what we describe the censorship industrial complex that sits front and center over in Ukraine.
Yeah, when you're dealing with a state actor that has a lot of resources, it's very hard to defend against that. I mean, we've experienced it for years, and it's still going on. So, and a lot of times you don't know what they're doing. You find out later, and it's just, they go in and flick a switch somewhere, and you don't know where it is, and it's interesting. But tell us about your trip. What did you learn? Or do you want to go to Iran first? It's up to you.
Yeah, just very quickly, a lot of good information about Ukraine, which we'll talk about in a bit, and the censorship industrial complex, how the people of Ukraine really have no voice, and that we're in the middle of this massive, information op. Which we'll talk about when we get to Ukraine. I want to talk about Iran first, but the same thing is happening in Iran. It's the same playbook. As you'll hear, I'll talk about some of the people, who have been the loudest voices against what's happening in Iran. They're the same people who are cheering on the Iran Ukraine war, with no care about, again, the people that live there, or the future, or America and the American people and American soldiers and military personnel in general. And it's despicable, but that's why we do this show. We want to call it out and show living proof of it.
I see a huge operation even this morning. They're still trying to get Pahlavi in there, which is the Shah's son. And he has really no support, and he's saying we got millions on the ground. That's just not true. Somebody really wants him in power. Obviously, he's an actor like Zelensky or some of these others. It's fascinating to watch the info op, though. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another pattern recognition is what I teach. It's
Yep.
what common sense is, and the common pattern between the Iran operation and the Ukraine war is the same. At its base, and most apparent of all, is if you think of all the coverage from the globalist media on both Ukraine and Iran, you realize the same thing is present. There's no coverage of the people who live there. So we have highlighted, and we will next week, some more videos, ground videos from Iran. Those have become harder and harder to sneak out. But it's the same thing with Ukraine. The people have no voice, whether it's mainstream media or the political pundits. They never mention the people. They never mention how does what happening on the ground affect those people. And, very apparent. We've showed the videos. Ukraine has to beat people. People rise up to fight those that are trying to forcefully conscript them. But it's the same thing in Iran, and we should never forget the people. And I think one of the things that'll come out very soon about the Iran situation is that the people have to choose the new leadership, and how it's going to happen in Iran. Even if somehow we had taken out all the leaders, we would have been left with a dilemma: who is going to fill in the vacuum? And it's never in the history of warfare, it's never worked that an outside element picks the new regime leadership. The Iranian people have to pick it. The Ukrainian people have to pick their new leadership. We can't do it for them, because inevitably it ends up being the wrong person who does not have the support of the people. So to me, that's the most telling pattern between the two. But we'll talk a lot more about that in a moment when we talk about each situation separately.
I just want to highlight President Trump. I've been reporting on, as you say, the people on the ground, the Iranian resistance on the ground. But President Trump, and I've been doing that for 10 years, came out and posted an interview of them, which I found fascinating, which means he's looking at other options on the ground and maybe more toward what you are talking about, Pete, which is, letting the people decide. So I found that just fascinating.
Yeah, well, from the beginning, this administration's done the right thing. They've been protecting their sources in Iran. So if you remember in the first few weeks, when President Trump was saying, hey, we're negotiating right now, they're at the table. Well, a big part of that negotiation was with the underground, the Iranian underground. And he has built on the trust that they've established with them by not outing them for political points. He's stayed steady, and you have to do that. The timing, one of the things that these critics and pundits have taken away from not just President Trump and the administration, but from the Iranian people is time. Time is the fuel that powers the process of creating options. And if you don't have time, you can't create options. So from every front, President Trump's ability to use time, the U.S.'s ability to use time, has been taken away by these pundits and these outside interests. And inevitably, they're taking away the Iranian people's ability to achieve freedom, which is should be the real goal that everyone talks about with the Iran situation.
Before we move on, I just want to highlight my book, Paying the Price, The Untold Story of the Iranian Resistance. You can find it anywhere. It's really an eye-opening as to who these people are, because most people, I was unaware of them, and I was pretty world-traveled, and so I spent a lot of time with them, and I think the book is informative. Back to you.
I agree. I read it again on my plane ride over there, and
really?
It's a fantastic book. I'd second your recommendation, and we need more of that. We need reporting to focus on the Iranian people, to give them a voice. And once we get to Ukraine, we'll talk about that also.
Well, let's talk real quick about the geopolitical implications of this deal. It seems to me that things are moving forward. The oil's flowing. There's still some negotiation with Oman and Iran, and what it's actually going to look like. But in my opinion, we need the oil flowing. We need the fertilizer flowing, because the downside of that not happening is famine in certain, maybe in Africa. There's food pressures in Europe. There's energy pressures in Europe. If we want to save Europe, we have to get their energy situation solved. So, there's a lot riding on this. What do you think is happening in the Gulf right now?
Yeah. So despite the disinformation and the propaganda, to me, the outcome has been a massive win for not just President Trump, but for the Middle East specifically and the rest of the world in general. The real damage of the propaganda is it prevents the objective observer from seeing this bigger picture of events. And no matter how much those leak out, the propagandists continue outright denying any of the positives. And the reason for that is because the same thing we see domestically. They have one strategy, that Trump loses, that somehow this shines a negative light on President Trump. They never think in terms of our country and of Western and freedom-loving people's interests in general. And it's actually, borderline childish. What's happened now is these propagandists and political pundits, it's all about the fact that they don't want to be proven wrong. They made the cardinal error in the beginning of the operation of making predictions, apocalyptic predictions, that proved false during the 5-week war. So instead of saying, wait, I admit now I was wrong, they simply shifted fire onto the negotiation process. And now no matter what comes out of the negotiation process, and I think J.D. Vance is a real hero of those negotiations, they continue to focus on casting negative shade on every aspect of it. And before we go on there, it's important to point out who these individuals are. There's a number of subversive groups in the U.S. and in the Western world in general who are vying to control the narrative. And J.D. Rucker put out a great article about this, and he listed it into 4 categories. I'll use 3 of those and then one of my own. And the first is, the same group who has been cheering on the death and destruction in Ukraine. That's the neocon warmongers, people like John Bolton, Lindsey Graham, and Mike Pence. And when you say those names out loud, you just scratch your head and say, how did they even still have a voice? Why is anyone listening to them? Well, because the left has taken a liking to all 3 of these former enemies of the left and given them a voice. They're all part of the Atlantic Council crowd. And, the thing about the Iran op is all of these guys have long wanted and espoused for the total annihilation of Iran. And none of them care about how many American lives are put at risk to achieve that goal. Because now they're angry that the peace deal, because it sabotages further their agenda for total regime change and U.S. occupation of the region. The second group is the one you hear about most often, and that's the Israeli lobby. Like the neocons, and in many cases, part of the neocon cabal, the Israeli lobby wants a ground invasion and total regime change. They have long held up that the threat of a nuclear Iran is the rationale for U.S. ground deployment. And, just like we say with Ukraine, I'll say this about Israel. This is a lobby group. It's not the Israeli people. So people who have made this bizarre shift from what the Israeli lobby group does and says to the Israeli people and Jewish people in general, either have an anti-Semitic belief that stays hidden in their, inside their own brains and motivates them to say the things they say, but it's showing this incredibly short-sighted view of what the Israeli lobby is, just like the lobbying groups we have in America, the food lobby, the pharma lobby. That's not the American people. That's a lobbying group. And in that same tone I'd mentioned on Israel, Israel has a right to defend itself. And in this case in Iran, they had some of the most accurate intelligence that has ever been available in the beginning of any military operation, which that's not a theory, that's empirical fact. And that's why 48 Iranian leaders, the first two tiers of the Iranian totalitarian regime's leadership, were taken out in the first 48 hours. So, the upshot of that is, it's not America's job to do the fighting for them. And if we are fighting over there, it's because American national interests are at stake. The third group is the political left. And again, no surprise here. It's Trump derangement syndrome on steroids. They just want a quagmire in Iran because they think it will jumpstart their own midterm election campaigns, which are already severely taking a hit, not from Iran, but from their policies in general. And the most despicable part of that is this alliance, this under the table alliance they've now established with Islamic interests as another way to tear down Western civilization. So the leftists see any positive news, any win for Trump as a threat to their return to power. And the final group is one that I mentioned that, I think is important to call out. And that's the political pundits on the left and right. You call them, there's podcasters. Some call it the ex-Fox News podcasters. What I've observed, and I think you'll agree with this, Todd, same thing. They're operating off their emotional brain. They tried to make a prediction in the beginning about what would happen in the war. And that prediction was this will lead to World War III. The Hormuz closure will crash the global economy. And Trump is going to deploy tens of thousands of ground troops and with thousands of casualties, as well as numerous U.S. naval ships destroyed by hypersonic missiles. And like I said, none of that has happened. And they were all wrong. But instead of correcting themselves, going on camera and saying, hey, look, I didn't have the big picture when I made my prediction. I didn't know about the intelligence. I didn't know about what Iran was really doing. They've just shifted fire onto the negotiation process. So you asked about, what are some of the positives? And there are a number of them, and they may seem subtle, but once you say them out loud and call attention to them, you realize they're quite significant. The first, in order of chronological order, was just forcing Iran and its regime to the negotiating table without deploying the ground invasion and potentially saving thousands of U.S. lives. The second was the knowledge that this blockade of the blockade has taken Iran's biggest coercive threat to not just the Middle East, but to the West in general, away from them. And that's the closing of the Strait of Hormuz. And what did that was the blockade of the blockade, shifting from opening the Strait of Hormuz to closing Iranian ports. That was the genius move that really was a knockout blow to Iran. And again, shifting fire to the negotiation process, which all of these pundits not long ago were saying it was impossible. They were saying Iran will fight to the last man. They'll never go to the negotiating table. You've underestimated them. But that has proven not to be true. I already mentioned 2 levels of Iranian leadership no longer exist. And these were the individuals responsible for all the crimes against humanity in Iran, as well as the terrorist strikes across the whole Middle East. And for that reason alone, that's why you had such unity among Middle Eastern countries. For the first time ever, Middle Eastern Arab countries actually working with not just the U.S., but the Israeli military to achieve their common goal. And that should also have told a lot of people about just how serious this threat was from Iran. When every other country, every other Arab country in the Middle East was against Iran, still is against Iran, you know that this isn't made up intelligence. This isn't a hypothetical threat. We talked about the Strait of Hormuz. It's wide open. And then the next thing is Iran's 60% enriched nuclear materials are buried now under a mountain range. And their weapons program, their nuclear military industrial complex has been destroyed. So a lot of small positives. The final one I'll talk about is the end of the OPEC oil cartel. UAE announced its exit first, which means all the other members will have to exit in order to compete with UAE's increased oil production. And this means a lot more oil on the market and much lower prices in the long run. Again, seeing the big picture, seeing the future as it unfolds in front of you, instead of taking an emotional view locked into the context of the moment when these individuals took it. And of course, the final thing I have to mention is the Iranian people are closer to freedom. They now have some hope. They saw what just happened. They know who's died. We showed on our program, I think 3 weeks ago, those initial smuggled out iPhone, videos of everyone in Iran rising up, cheering when they heard Khamenei was killed. That's what we should be focused on, the Iranian people. Now, what's the controversy with the negotiation? Well, the controversy is that now they're saying that, Iran has won at the negotiating table, but it's important to say out loud what Iran actually won from this. And first and foremost, I just read an article on it this morning before the show, a massive lie that Iran is getting a $300 billion payout from the U.S. to sign this peace negotiation. This is not only false, but a deliberate misrepresentation of the fact. There is no $300 billion right now. This is a negotiating step, very savvy negotiating step, and it's an investment fund. It's not from the U.S. coffers. Never has there been any chance that this was going to be U.S. taxpayer dollars. The money itself is funded by other Middle Eastern countries and private investors. If it happens, it's nothing more than a carrot for the Iranians.
So the narrative they're pushing out there is that this is Obama's deal plus $300 billion to the Iranians. That's completely
exactly. Obama himself mentioned it in his part of his library speech. But there's no $300 billion. The U.S. never told them we're going to give you $300 billion. It's a fund that hasn't even been created yet. But remember, the U.S. has been talking with its Middle Eastern allies the whole time the majority of the fund will come from them. The next massive lie that is also kind of an offshoot of the Obama deal was, unfreezing Iranian assets. First and foremost, just like everything else, you got to say it out loud, Iranian assets. So they always have been Iran's money. And just like this insanity of Europe holding Russians' frozen assets hostage, that isn't money they can tap into. That's Russia's money. And this is Iran's money. The fact of the asset, on the unfreezing of the assets, is this: the U.S. only holds about $2 billion of the total funds. The rest is scattered through dozens of other countries, again, mostly Middle Eastern countries. And you've heard a couple times the UAE talk about, I believe, 12 to 14 billion, but it's spread out through all those countries where Iran's assets have been frozen in. The high oil and gas prices, this was a fear-based tactic that was, also included in that statement was this is going to tube the Republicans in the midterms. To be clear, there has never been any supply shortage from the start of this war on. Zero supply shortage. Oil prices rose due to speculation, not fact, market speculation. And of course, people like the oil companies and the airlines were only too happy to take advantage of that and charge higher prices. In the meantime, President Trump did an amazing thing last night. If you read his X page, he sent out a message. He said, prices have plummeted, I think $35 so far, but there's been no adjustment in American gas prices. And President Trump said, I've already notified the DOJ to begin looking into our oil and gas companies. And if those prices don't come down soon, they're going to be knocking on your door. To me, that's what a president's supposed to do. He's supposed to represent the people, use his powers. Instead of saying, we're going to create a new law that punishes you, he just says it out loud to them. This needs to change immediately, or something drastic will happen that'll force it to change. And then the final thing is the Iranian. That's the purpose, at least that most of us heard for the beginning of the war. And the U.S. now essentially controls those resources. That's not a threat that we have to think about at this point. So, the lessons, I think, before I end on Iran, there's been some major lessons to talk about that are still unfolding. The first is one of the most despicable. If Iran was successful at anything, it was the exploitation of the globalist / mainstream media and social media. Mm-hmm. And they've used them to spread this disinformation. So never before have we had an enemy. And make no mistake, the Iranian regime has been our enemy for 47 years. But never before have we seen our own mainstream media and the globalist media in general side with them and be used by them as proxies. Trump's political base has remained steady throughout. This should have been an indication, a pattern that many of these political pundits and podcasters should have noted right off the bat. People don't support making America great again because some podcaster supports it. That podcaster's popularity came from the fact that they were saying the same things that the majority of the American people believe in, which is America for Americans, use common sense. And that was not happening, but it is now. So, just kind of to wrap it up, even if you didn't agree with the initiation of the war, you and I talked about that. Mm-hmm. Neither of us did in the beginning, but we had enough savvy, enough historical respect to say, let's take a wait and see attitude. We don't have all the intelligence. I already mentioned that intelligence is not theoretical. It was empirical. Never before have the top two levels of any regime been decapitated in 48 hours of a war. And that's why the Iranian people have hope. Those individuals being gone gives them hope. So, the fact is Trump is getting everything he wanted out of this deal, and Iran is getting nothing unless they comply. This is not pie in the sky. We've seen how mercurial the Iranians are. Things could break down at any moment. But if you think about it, Trump has lost nothing. Now he has almost the template for how to go back, do the same thing militarily, strategically, operationally, and we can go right back to applying the same pressure that brought the Iranians to the negotiating table in the first place.
Very well said. I want to just highlight two issues. One, I want to highlight Pahlavi recent comments, but also I want to talk about the info op a little bit before we go to Ukraine. But this is Pahlavi recently, about 30 seconds.
To be part of the political process?
Well, I'm glad you're asking the question, because it has never been a case for me to run for office or position. But I'm uniquely placed to be an agent of change and transition. There's a trust in me. That's why when on January 8th at Make a Call, millions of people came out there supporting me.
That is a complete lie. The Iranian people do not want the son of the Shah, who was a dictator who tortured many, to come back to power. They want some kind of representative government. So I just want to say that he doesn't have millions of supporters. And also the info op going on, I put this out this morning, and I'll just say ahead of time, I'm thankful for Tucker for having me on Fox Nation a few years back for an hour to talk about ending the Ukraine war and actually what was going on. But there is something happening, and I put this article out this morning. Tucker is running for something, and there's a huge info op going on. I agree with him highlighting a lot of the foreign influence in our government, but he is ignoring some of the other influences. I mean, we have the call to prayer in New York City right now. I mean, he's ignoring the influence of a lot of the Islamic politicians coming into the country, which I think we should keep this a Christian, oriented country. And there's a huge coordination going on with a lot of other influencers to, again, say that Trump lost and Iran won. And I don't agree with that. We're going to continue to report on that. But it's a lengthy article. You can find this on CDM. All right, you want to talk Ukraine, Pete?
Yeah, and I would just add on that, same thing. I've always appreciated Tucker, but you saw, his words ended up boxing him in, which, you should know. Your words can change and you can get out of the box or the corner you painted yourself into, but he appears dead set on, not being wrong. That's his goal at this point. And, he's said some very inflammatory things about Israeli lobby and Israelis in general. And none of us are for our country just doing whatever, Israel says. And if you've studied President Trump at all, you would never even allow yourself to be fooled into thinking that he would do that. Anyone who's worked with him would tell you, once he makes up his mind on facts, you're not going to go in and bribe him. He's unbribable. He's uncajolable. But Tucker did mention, I just saw a clip of it on, I think, Alex Jones' podcast, that he's considering 2028. And I think if you look at what he said in the days prior to that, there's no way I'll support the Republican Party. I think he thinks that just what we talked about, that he's the Make America Great Again movement, that he created it. Instead, what he needs to understand is his popularity was created from his time on Fox News forward by the fact he was just a voice of the Make America Great Again movement. And notice I don't say MAGA because it it oversimplifies what it is. It makes it sound like a political party. It's not. It's common sense. And every country, you can take the A and replace the first letter of every country, has the same movement. You have to be for your group, your home first, or you're never going to survive. And of course, we're about to talk about Ukraine. That's what's happened to Europe. They've become MAGA, make Ukraine great again, instead of make Britain great again, make France great again, make Germany great again. It's a cardinal error. It's an emotional brain error that's easily corrected if you allow it to be. But again, the problem with being with some of these, mega podcasters is they fall into the same trap that people who make millions or billions of dollars can easily fall into. They think it's them, not the people they represent, that got them to that point.
Completely agree. Let's move to Ukraine. We've talked about, well, maybe I haven't with you, but there's been a campaign in Ukraine to counter a lot of the success that Russia's having on the battlefield. And my sources, and maybe you can confirm or deny, are telling me that Konstantinivka, I think is the word, is pretty much surrounded by or infiltrated and controlled by Russian assets at this point. And they're moving. If that happens, the next targets are Slavyansk and some of the other very critical infrastructure in that part of the world. So I think that, as Putin said, the war is about over in Ukraine. So now you're seeing a response from the Ukrainian and the European forces to lash out with long-range strikes into Europe. You're seeing UK build and provide very powerful long-range weapons to Ukraine, and that opens up the whole threat of, Russia striking Europe in response, which could bring the U.S. into the war as being a part of NATO with an Article 5 treaty obligation. So this is getting very serious. And in fact, 12 villages were just evacuated along the northern border near Belarus. Zelensky is threatening Belarus. He's threatening Poland. And it's getting pretty, I guess, worrisome. Pete, what say you?
Yeah, great summary. You just took about a third of my update out. And no, it's the facts. And what you're talking about with the Slavyansk region is the last and most important hub for Ukraine in Donbass. I'd sum up what I'm about to say with this: desperate men make desperate moves. It's just human nature. And so what you're seeing is this conglomeration of desperate men, from Zelensky in Ukraine, desperate, totally desperate, because the people are rising up in Ukraine. They know they're losing the war. This is not a judgmental thing. It's a numbers thing. It's a infrastructure thing. It's a what hope do we have for the future thing. But it's not just the Ukrainians. In consonance with their desperation, these European leaders are also desperate. Their polling is the lowest polling of any heads of state have ever had in Germany, France, and Britain. We saw Starmer just resigned, but apparently the guy who's favored to replace him is even further to the left than Starmer. And so, we always look at motivation before we talk about what they're doing. And what's their motivation? Their motivation is just what we said. The last hub in Donbass is about to fall. And with that, Ukraine itself is about to fall. And what does that mean? That means the end of the censorship industrial complex. And in the same way that the left in the US has become completely desperate because step by step we're dismantling this censorship industrial cheating complex. We should add that, because that's what it was. It was censorship industrial in order to continue the cheating, the color revolutions, the vote swings. I've said it before. I live in California. We just witnessed one of the most egregious, election results that anyone's ever seen. None of it made sense. How they threw the first mayoral election in LA and almost threw the governor's election, but they couldn't. They ran into some problems on the governor race. The biggest one being the overwhelming number of people who voted for Steve Hilton. So, and the result of that is in the last few weeks, we've seen this massive information op taking place, not just in Europe and not just in Ukraine, but in the Western media in general. And hey, you can always tell an information op because it's an echo chamber. Ukraine is finally winning the war. And, there's no denying they've had a couple of successful long-range missile strikes in Russia, but that has done nothing to the forces on the battlefield. Absolutely nothing. And while the fact of the matter is, on the ground, not only is Russia winning, but it's moving into the end game, as you just talked about, in Donbass, which is the cradle of the war. And we've been reporting on the siege and encirclement of Constantinople for a while, and how this fortified bastion was the key for the final assault for Slavyansk, which you also mentioned, the agglomeration in Slavyansk. And it's the last region held by the Ukrainian forces. And if that goes, there's nothing holding them back from going all the way to Kyiv. And Russia is winning, and they're winning with their tried and tested playbook. Russia's forces do not smash head on. We've talked about this in detail. They don't do frontal attacks, but rather they take their time. They flank each conglomeration with multiple prongs. They encircle it, attack the supply lines, and put the defenders in fire pockets, and then incrementally destroy them in the fire pockets. Last month's report citing Ukrainian intelligence claimed Russia's top commanders had convinced Vladimir Putin that they could seize Kremorsk and Slavyansk and the town center of the fortress by the end of the year. And once that happens, pretty much the war is all but over. So you're watching this, this massive information operation continue. Desperate men make desperate moves. I've heard all the political pundits, the ex-generals, they're all mad. You just saw a general resigned in the U.S. yesterday. There were multiple reasons for that. He was a big hawk on the Ukraine-Iran war. We mentioned him in multiple episodes in the article I wrote on the debacle of micromanaging the Ukraine war by the U.S. He was one of the micromanagers, but the mainstream media has taken that and run with it. Hegseth fires another military hero. He was not a hero.
I think you're talking about Donahue, right?
Yeah, and in fact, the truth of the matter is, and I just got this from a source yesterday, the reason he's resigning has nothing to do with Hegseth. He's resigning because Hegseth, in his effort to get rid of this massive excess of four-star generals, has simply stated, we need to go back to making the EUCOM commander a three-star general. And I can tell you from experience during Bosnia, that commanded over 200,000 troops. We don't have the current command. It's about 125, I think. 200,000 troops. He was a three-star general. So when you tell a four-star general that his job is going to be downgraded to three, some of them, can't handle that. And that's the real reason he's quitting. It's not any kind of, philosophical thing. It's not Hegseth saying, get out of here. You're not doing a good job. He's quitting because his command is being downgraded from 4 stars to 3.
Well, we've had a lot of people write on our armedforces.press channel that he was instrumental in the Abbey Gate issue and the withdrawal from Afghanistan, from Kabul. I mean, he made forced a war trophy of a small vehicle onto the aircraft and forced off human beings who were not allowed to get out, and should have, and then did it and made several trips and filming himself getting on. I mean, I'm told it was absurd. I wasn't there, but it's kind of very, you may know more, but
yeah, it's all true. It's all true. I know guys who were there. All of that is accurate. They're, red hot, pissed off. They have been since then. He was following orders, and that's one of the problems with, making your career based on how many stars you have. You end up genuflecting to the political elite. And of course, that was the Biden administration. He was taking orders from the very highest level of that administration. History matters. The problem is you can do whatever you want in the present, but history says you got to live with the results. And he has to live with the decisions he made, in Kabul during the shutdown.
I want to just highlight a few things. One is there is a campaign, and one of our sources has talked about it on another episode, of the Ukrainians using a point system to kill anything in the Donbass area or even Western Russia and Bryansk and that whole area, that they're using these FPV drones to come in and literally hit civilian vehicles, people in cars, people walking, and they get points, and then they'll get more equipment or R&R or whatever from the Ukrainian government. But this is one example of this. This is a FPV drone taking out a civilian truck in Bryansk. Absolutely no military significance, but here you go. So you can see the drone comes in and kills the driver. And so that's going on all over Russia. That's not a military target. And also, here's another video. You talked about the mobilization. People are desperate to get out from this mobilization, and it's increasing in its ferocity. So one guy put a hang glider and tried to paraglide across the border.
Походу з України. На параплані, бачите, по ньому стріляють.
And then getting shot at. That just shows the desperation, the craziness.
Yeah, and it's disgusting, and it's most disgusting because none of that has any relevance to what's happening on the battlefield. So, and they'll have to live with that, all the way down to the drone operator who did that. He'll be, he'll have to live with that. That's how you prevent PTSD. You do the right thing in the context of the moment. You do your best, and you won't be haunted for the rest of your life. Not, equating that to PTSD in general, but that's what happens to these individuals who commit war crimes. They have to live with it. And, but the insanity of it has zero effect on the battlefield. And anyone who thinks that attacking civilian targets in Russia is going to cause the Russian people to rise up, which was the initial strategy made by the Obama administration, non-elected officials, and the Biden administration, non-elected officials. It's fallacy. You're just hardening the resolve of the Russian people and showing them that this is NATO. It's them against NATO. And, I'm glad President Trump has said already he's now shifting his focus back to the Ukraine war, because he's the only one who can end the insanity and stop the senseless killing that's going on only in the name of propaganda. They show that video is out because they showed that video as here we are attacking inside Russia. Same thing that happened with that dorm room where they killed, I think, 17 students.
Yeah.
Why did you do that? And do you really think that's going to bring the Russian people to their knees? No. You kill students, you're just hardening their ire, hardening their resolve, and making it worse off for yourself in the end.
I want to highlight real quick our first website we started back in 2015, sarism.com, and the name comes from the old Russian Tsarist Empire. It has nothing to do. It's not pro-Russian, pro-Ukrainian. It's pro-truth and from the region. And so we cover from literally Central Europe, from Poland, which was part of the Tsarist Empire, all the way to San Francisco. So that whole region, there's a Fort Roos in San Francisco you can go to. But if you're interested in Russian culture, history, not Russian, but Eastern European culture, history, etc., I was living in Ukraine at the time we started this. So it's just put it in your daily scan. All right, back to you, Pete.
That's it. That's all I have.
Okay, so long show today. Thank you for hanging with us. We'll be back tomorrow. I've got Ivan Raiklan coming on tomorrow morning. Should be an interesting, edgy interview to say the least. So, Pete, thank you. We'll see you next time.
Sounds good, Todd. Take care.